Holy crap. Bitcoin is falling down to $92,000, $93,000. We have altcoins bleeding, including Ethereum down 18% in the last 7 days. Solana down 12% in the last 24 hours. Dogecoin down 12% in the last few hours. Cardano down 17% in the last day. Chainlink down 17%. Sui down 18%. Let's talk about what is happening with this market, whether you should be fearful and sell everything or whether now is the time to be piling in. We'll talk about some things that are going to add some volatility today as well. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this one as soon as I make them. Also, there's a link underneath the video to BTCC in case you want to trade cryptocurrency using leverage, in case you want to copy trade or spot trade. There's a link to BTCC. We're still massively in the profit on almost every single leverage position that we have. So if you want to trade, if you want to start trading, this is when I typically like to trade, is when we see big pullbacks. This is when I like to initiate big positions because it gives you more cushion. If you start a trade when we're at price discovery at new all-time highs, we could see a 10%, 20% pullback pretty easily. But once we've already seen a 15, 20% pullback, it's harder to see another one. So I usually like to open trades when we have taken a bit of a pullback. So I've been adding 2 positions. With the link underneath the video to BTCC2, you get a 10% deposit bonus on your first time deposit and you get lower trading fees. Let's take a look at this. The market is extremely red today. We have Bitcoin going from 108,400. And that was just, keep in mind, that was 4 days ago. We went all the way down to 92,300. Now we're at 93,600. So what exactly is happening? Well, a couple different things. We have big liquidations, right? This is one of the dangers of leverage trading. You could get liquidated. And when people go long at the top, when people go too high leverage, you can get liquidated. That's part of it, right? That's why you don't put your entire portfolio in at one time. And actually, I know a couple of professionals, and they usually put 1% to 2% of their portfolio, of their trading portfolio, in a trade at a time. So just a lot of liquidations happening. $1.2 billion worth of longs, $200 million worth of shorts. That's part of it. We also had pretty decent outflows from the ETFs yesterday. BlackRock held, but a lot of the other ETFs sold. Let me actually pull that up so that you can see. Yesterday, we had negative $209 million from FBTC. We had negative $88 million from GBTC, negative $188 million from Grayscale Mini, BITB with negative 44, ARCB with 108 out. So, I mean, you're looking at what? Negative $700 million day, something like that. So we did have some outflows from the ETF. A lot of this stems right after we saw Jerome Powell say that they weren't going to lower rates quite as aggressively. Keep in mind, nothing has changed from what I can tell, right? We have some liquidations. We have some selling based on the fact that the Fed sees the economy actually pretty strong and they don't want inflation to come back. So they're going to keep rates a little bit higher for longer, which has been the story for the last year anyways. So really nothing has fundamentally changed. It's just interest rates are going to be slightly higher for longer. And there was a bit of news with El Salvador, and actually I covered it in the last video. I think a lot of people are misinterpreting what's really happening, but they are working with the IMF and they have to not necessarily make Bitcoin legal tender anymore, or they have to like remove that legal tender status, it sounds like. There's a lot more context. Watch my last video. I'll put it on the end screen so that you can get a better feel for it. But they're going out and they're buying more Bitcoin with this loan, it looks like. So, you know, I think there's some people misinterpreting some of the news happening today. We still have the US government buying Bitcoin, most likely in the next couple months. We still have other nation states buying. British Hodl points out the fact that from what he understands, NASDAQ flows start today into MSTR and must be completely done by market open on Monday. The MSTR put option is still about to be turned on. This flush, while bigger in numbers, is a third of the normal percent-wise that we see, and coinciding with a big broad market sell-off makes it a lot less significant to me. Santa Claus is still coming to town, much higher by New Year's Eve, in my opinion. Basically saying, hey, yeah, typically we see this Christmas rally. Don't be surprised if that's coming up here soon, and we will start to see flows into MSTR, which MSTR stock is down 6% in the pre-market. Keep in mind, the whole market is down in the pre-market. Like S&P 500 is down 1.1%. NASDAQ is down 1.66%. So there are definitely going to be some opportunities today. And today's also the triple witching. We will see some $6.5 trillion worth of options tied to individual stocks, indexes, and exchange-traded funds expire today. So there's usually some manipulation, some volatility, because there are people that want to make sure that the options expire in the money or out of the money and that kind of thing. So usually there's some extra volatility that comes with today. This is like the third thing that I've added into this video after recording it, but keep in mind there could be a decent amount of manipulation here. The fact is, exchanges don't really want to have to pay longs if we go up to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Keep in mind those are bullish scenarios, but they don't want to have to pay these longs that have been in since 30,000, 40,000. So what do? You try to flush some of them out. You try to get them to add to their positions, maybe add a little bit too aggressively, dump the price a little bit lower, or flush out the newer positions at least. Try to flush out some of the leverage ahead of big moves. And well, a month from now, supposedly, sounds like Trump is going to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? A lot of people are saying day one it's going to happen. So there could be exchanges flushing people out. There could be ETFs flushing people out. I know we had a negative day from the ETFs yesterday, but they could just try to scare the market, right? I know that they don't necessarily make all the investment decisions, but they can kind of force behaviors. So there could be a little bit of that. There could be whales that are trying to flush out the market, make people fearful before we go up further. So just realize that there's an element to that. As we can see, some cryptos are down significantly. I mean, everything's down a decent amount, but you can see like Bitcoin's down almost 9% in the last 24 hours, Ethereum down 12%, Solana down 11.5%, Dogecoin down 21%. In the last 24 hours, the best performers are the stable coins. That's usually not a good sign if you sort by the top 100, and the top 3 are all stable coins. The worst are down about 20% or so. Now, what do I think about this market? Where do I think Bitcoin could go? Well, honestly, it could go further down. I've been saying this forever. The fact is, we can see big drops even in bull markets. But keep this in mind. Back August, let's look at August 4. We went down to under $50,000. Now we're 96% above that, and people are worried. We just saw a 15% pullback, just about 15% pullback, and people are freaking out. Keep in mind, this always happens. Whenever you move up, you do eventually move down. I'm not panicking by any means. I mean, sure, right? I don't want to look at my portfolio after it was just higher, but we were literally at these same prices, December 5, 2 weeks ago? Like, I'm not worried. This would actually be another higher low if we continue moving up. Not on the daily, but over a multi-week, time frame. We went down to about 90,500. Then we went down to about 91,000. Now, if we set this as low, 92,200, I don't think that's too bad. And then we continue rallying up. I think this actually cools down the market. To be clear, though, we could go lower. Would that make me bearish? No. The fact is, we do need pullbacks because it flushes some leverage. It also gets some of the weak hands out. It actually makes it so that we can actually sustain this market rally longer. Again, if there's something fundamentally changed about this bull market, then maybe it would be a little bit more cause for concern. But for me, I don't think anything's changed. We still have nations that are trying to get in. We still have states that are trying to get in. We still have a very strong economy. And inflation's been coming down. And while it has come up slightly recently, the Fed doesn't have to continue to lower rates aggressively. They can go slowly. So I'm not worried about this. I still think that this is just part of the bull run. I do think this is an interesting time if you want to add to positions. Like, there are some cryptos that are down fairly significantly. I do think that alts could fall a little bit more even, but some are down 40% in the last week. I mean, let's go back to the top 10 here. XRP went to almost $3. Solana was at $260 recently. So a lot of these top 10 cryptos have seen significant pullbacks. Now, to be clear, I haven't really added to a lot of spot positions, like my top spot positions, since, April? People were making fun of me because I was buying Bitcoin, getting paid in Bitcoin, back around the Bitcoin halving, right? I just said, hey, I'm going to continue to accumulate all the way to the halving, and then I'm going to hold off, right? I will have accumulated enough that my portfolio is going to be much outsized for crypto, and then I'll have to build up like my stock and real estate portfolio more. Since April, I have been trading, and I have rotated some capital out of some what I thought were more dead coins, laggers, into some higher performers. So I have repositioned my portfolio a couple times, but I think what you need is a plan, right? If you are just coming at this like, hey, I'll buy a little bit if we dip, but I'm not going to really stipulate how much we dip or when we dip, when in the cycle I'm going to buy, or how much I'm going to buy, or anything like that, then you're going to be filled with emotion. What you want to do is create a plan. Say, I'm going to do this if this happens. I'm going to do this if this happens. I'm going to do this if this happens. Right now, I think we are seeing some juicy pullbacks. Personally, I am trading. Like I said, I'm adding to positions here. Part of that is I feel quite comfortable with my spot positions. Even with this pullback, keep in mind, we're still at the same prices we were 2 weeks ago. So I'm not worried at all. I think this just means we could have a vicious bounce at some point, especially if there's a change in the sentiment. So I'm quite excited. I think this market sell-off is actually quite good, again, for the market. I've said this before, I'll say it again. It does cool down the markets. Let's actually look here into the Cryptoverse. There's a link to this underneath the video with a 10% off code. You can use it. This is the platform that I'm using to really evaluate when I want to get in and out of the market, along with just the typical market cycle length. But you can see here, we're right back at fair value for the crypto market. We're actually slightly below. The total market cap is 3.2 trillion, and the fair value of crypto is 3.22 trillion. As you can see, as time goes on, we just continue to go up in value, and there are times of overperformance, outperformance, and underperformance. As we can see here too, Bitcoin's risk level has decreased. We're at 94,000. The risk is 0.59. When we went up to 88,000 originally, we were at 0.635 risk. So risk is coming down, even though we're at higher prices than we were a month and a half ago. That's because it's taken a while. We've chopped around. That lowers RSI. That also means that we're farther away from a blow off top. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Let me know if you're buying Bitcoin. Also, check out BTCC underneath the video. Check out Into the Cryptoverse. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you all in the next one.